Are you ready?
Let's get it.
All right, yo. What's up, Daddy family? It's your boy D Starks.
Starks Artist.
And you're tuned in to the Just Different Podcast, where we talk everything faith, life, and culture. Welcome. If you're here for the first time, and of course, welcome back. If you've been rocking with us for a while.
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie, this EP the one.
It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be the one. What we talking about today? Where we on?
Man, y'all see the title. Y'all see the title.
They see it.
That's what this EP is. Everything Heartbreak. You know how to deal with it. Ins and outs. How to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
No, yeah, and we got a few messages, or I've been getting a few messages from different people that have either gone through the season before or are currently in that state of like going through a heartbreak or a breakup or something that's just like, you know, really put them in an emotional place that they're trying to get out of. Like whether that be like disappointments, betrayed trust, like when situations change, people switch up, or like the unexpected comes out of the people that you love the most, you know? And I think we understand that heartbreak can come in so many different forms. Like I said, it can be family, betrayed trust from family, or
rough.
just from people that you have platonic relationships with. And of course, on the romantic side, like if somebody cheats on you.
Struck a nerve.
For sure. If somebody just pushes the boundaries of what you set in that relationship on a mental, spiritual, or emotional level. Yeah. Or it can just look like somebody toying with your emotions. Real talk. Like here one day, interested and gone the next.
Playing games.
Ghosted.
Playing games. I'm too old, man.
Playing games. So this is what we're going to be really getting into today. And I think this is important because I believe that what happens to us on earth will always indirectly or subconsciously affect what we think about heaven and how we walk out our relationship with God.
Right.
And we say this all the time. You're probably sick of us, but it's one of the most vital parts of our walk. It's like working out your soul salvation, what your mind, your will, and in today's case, your emotions. And because like if we're being real, like it's really difficult to serve God with a clouded mind and a broken heart.
Yeah.
Like you be down tremendously bad during a heartbreak for
astronomical, bro. Out this world.
And like if we're being honest, it's a real challenge to give him your all when you feel like someone else has taken a piece of you. You know, and we have to talk through that and be real with it because he wants us to be healed and not have to like be stuck in that position that we're at.
Agreed.
And so let's tap in.
Let's get
where I want to start this at. I heard it like this once, and it said, someone said it was, God can heal your broken heart, but you have to give him all the pieces. To experience complete healing, we have to be in a position of complete surrender. So like you have to surrender all these pieces of your heart, the memories, the relationship, the experiences to God so he can put it back together.
Yeah.
Right? Heartbreak is one of those things. It's like one of the most like painful, like excruciating like emotions anybody can experience or go through. Right? So that's not something that you can get through by yourself, through yourself, or from yourself. Like you need God. That's gonna be him to put that together and like mend that heart to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But to get to that point of complete surrender, I think starting off this conversation, you have to recognize and be real with what you're going through. Because I think a lot of times people in the church honestly scratch that. People in general will attempt to like minimize or invalidate what you're going through or what you're dealing with, particularly when it comes to a heartbreak. Right? So it'll sound like this, like that boy shouldn't have you feeling like this. Like, bro, why are you tripping over her?
What you mean?
Or it'll be like, girl, he wasn't even like that for real. He wasn't even like that for real. Or like, they ain't all that.
Yeah.
You'll be straight. There's plenty of fish in the sea. You gonna be all right. And so like, when you're hearing all that from other people, like that will then have you trying to convince yourself that like, you know what, maybe it's not that deep. Well, you know, I am young.
I've been there. Yeah.
And it really ain't that serious.
Yeah.
I'll get over it. Maybe I'm tripping.
Maybe
it ain't hurt that bad, did it?
Maybe it's just in my head.
Right. But what happens is in those situations, you're trying to combat emotion with reason, and you have to realize that pain isn't right or wrong. It's real.
Say it again.
You have to realize that pain isn't right or wrong. It's real. So sometimes I've been in that position before too. Like you'll get out of a relationship and sometimes you'll be like, bro, why am I feeling this way? Like, why is it hurting so bad? And so you'll try to almost other people, but you yourself will try to convince yourself out of it. Like, bro, like I didn't even talk to them that much. I wasn't even into them like that, but you're still feeling this thing in your heart. And that's because pain isn't right or wrong. It's just real.
That's different.
So sometimes we don't want it to hurt. So regardless of the outside voices or our own voice, we still have to deal with this and put it on the forefront, like of our mind to get through and heal from.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to give ourselves grace too. Like, you know, even though, okay, I maybe wasn't with them that long, or maybe they did treat me bad and they shouldn't be in my life, this is still something that's still here, and it's not right or wrong, it's just real. And since it's real, you have to like go through and deal with it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. That's a fire. He said, say it again.
Pain isn't right or wrong. It's just real. It's just real, yo.
That's different. I remember I was having a conversation with someone. They had recently went through a heartbreak, and a point they brought up to me, they said, how is it fair that they had to fix something they didn't break? Why they themselves had to deal with the effects of someone else's actions? I think to your point, like that isn't a burden God intended for us to carry on our own.
Facts.
Psalm 55:22, what? Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. It's something he's willing to take. It's just on us to place it in his hands. Casting that burden is our job, right? It isn't casting the burden isn't something that's taken, it's something that's accepted. But I think what happens in some situations is instead of picking it up to place it in his hands, we send it in the opposite direction to be buried deep down.
Run that real quick. Run that.
I think what happens sometimes is instead of picking it up to put it in his hands, we take it in the opposite direction and bury it deep down, right? And I think another point you made, you were talking about how people like try to invalidate your emotions, and I've seen it time and time again. I think what happens is their lack of acknowledgement of the issue creates the illusion that there never was one, and it'll cause you to leave issues unresolved.
That's good.
Hidden, we were talking about, like maybe it's just me, maybe it's in my head, right? And we leave that unattended, right? So not only do you have to acknowledge the pain you buried, but what about the pain they buried for you? The pain they looked over. I think a lot of people, they'll try to bury your pain because it's convenient for them. They don't want to deal with it, right? And they leave you searching for graves that you never dug. That's why I think I try to always make it a habit of praying to God to reveal the things in me that need to be removed, because he'll always reveal it, right? Even if, like I said, sometimes we bury things deep down and we kind of forget about it, but I think when I pray that God has always revealed to me the things that need to be addressed.
No, of course. And like acknowledging that, like Jordan was mentioning, just acknowledging that in those graves and whatever you dig, whatever graves you dug or whatever other people did for you or try to suppress for you, that bringing those to the light and giving it to God. So I mentioned this in, I believe it was I Can't Hear God. And I basically said something along the lines of like, since we don't believe we're going to receive an answer from God, we don't go to him. And I think how that kind of applies here, because like since we don't believe that we're going to receive empathy, care, comfort, or genuine concern from God, we never bring our heart to him.
Let's get into it, bro.
So we don't really believe that he can mend a broken heart, that he can actually bring me some type of comfort outside of what's on this earth and what's convenient and what's easy and what's accessible to me. But that's not the case. You know what I mean? I struggle with that too, like sometimes thinking God is just so far from me, but he's really like involved in, or wants to be involved in an integral part of our lives. Like we mention all the time, like I'll be thinking like he just doesn't, like we know he cares, but it'd be like sometimes he ain't really dealing with me about this. Honest. He ain't fooling with me.
Yeah.
Like this little girl, like come on now. Like come on now. And we just think he's so far from us, and that's just not the case. How did Maverick City say it? There was like what song was it? It was like
Talk to me.
I was like, if he dresses the lilies, right, with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you?
Okay, vocals.
How much more? Oh, this next part right here though, it was like, and if he watches over every sparrow, how much more? No, y'all don't get me started.
Okay, vocals.
But no, but for real though, like if he dresses the lilies, right? How much more? It talks about that. Come on, Matthew 6. It talks about like how much more valuable you are than the lilies of the field and the birds of the air. Yeah. Like he cares, right? He wants to be involved in this. Yeah. And I remember me and Jordan, we were at dinner with one of our good friends, just catching up not too long ago, and I mentioned the verse in Matthew 11, verse 28, and it talks about how Jesus, his burden is easy, or his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Yeah. And after I had mentioned that scripture, I said that he meant that. And we talk about this all the time. It's like we know it, but do we believe it? I believe that when he said that, he meant it. That our walk, it's going to be difficult. Trials will come and things are going to happen, but he didn't make it complicated. And he meant that when he said that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He meant that.
He meant that.
So when I look at scriptures like Psalm 34:18, it says the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Guess what?
He meant that.
When I look at 1 Peter 5:7, that says cast your anxiety on him because he cares. Guess what?
He meant that.
When I'm going through Luke and I'm looking through the gospel, at Luke 12:7, and it says that indeed the very numbers of your hair are numbered. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows.
Say it with me.
He meant that. He meant that. And so I don't know how much of offering your praying to God is difficult. I think believing he'll do something with it is the battle.
No, I need to hear that. Yeah, I need to hear that again. That was a bar.
I don't know how much of offering your pain to God is difficult. I think believing he'll do something with it is really half the battle. Right?
That's good.
So maybe giving your pain to God, of course, is a challenge and difficult, but I think half that battle, rephrasing it, is believing he'll actually do something with it.
Right.
That he can take your pain, your sorrow, and turn it into joy. And that'd be the place of exchange in which you give what you have for what he is. And I think we have to start there in that conversation, like we said, acknowledging it, what's going on, and then surrendering it to him. And believing that he can actually do something with it, because that's where it starts first. If we don't believe that he can, then we'll never actually approach him or go to him with it.
That's the
and it's just
step.
that simple.
He meant that.
He meant that, y'all. Real talk. But now, what? How'd you deal with yours? Your little heartbreak. You know, when she just ripped your heart been broke so many times.
Not the rise.
Don't know what to believe. No, but for real, like, seriously. Yeah. So how did you deal with that? What did that look like for you going through yours?
Okay. I think something that helped me with the heartbreak that I went through was just understanding that, some people are just seasonal. It's kind of simple, but with the right pressure applied, I think it's impactful. I think for me, I kind of just wanted closure with that situation. It was like, dang, why did this have to happen? And I wanted to get that like kind of security. But that was my closure, just understanding that some people are just seasonal, and some connections just run their course and they serve the purpose that God had, right? And I think something, even adding to that is when I realized that a lot of these connections and things under the sun are temporary, it kind of led me to the only thing that's eternal, which is God. So, yeah, I think that's just realizing that a lot of things are just seasonal and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah, I think that's good. And I think for me, like, I guess it was really a part of my testimony because I went through, I guess, like one of my major breakups or heartbreaks that I felt my sophomore year. And after that, it's like one of those things where you got like emotional damage with physical pain. You feel what I'm saying? Like, have you? Why are you laughing, bro?
That sounds like emotional damage.
But like, I guess when your heart breaks and you physically feel it. You know what I'm talking about? That's a different type of pain, and that's what I was going through. And of course, like, granted, you got to put context, and I was super, super young, and I was going through that, and I felt that weight of like that breakup and that experience, like, really throughout the entire summer after my sophomore year. And then I finally had like a week where I really came to God with it and I surrendered all. And for me, going through that heartbreak, how I dealt with it was really worship. Right. And we talked about it once in our Bible study, but worship is a place of exchange.
Yeah.
Right. Where you exchange what we mentioned this a little bit ago, like your sorrow for his joy, right? Your pain for his healing, right? Your anxiety for his peace. Like, it's a place for exchange for what you have for who he is. And what you're dealing with for the spirit that he has to come upon you. And that was really what got me through it. You know what I mean? It's acknowledging that and just giving him that pain and seeing how he exchanged that in moments of like worship and true surrender and just giving it all out to him. And we mentioned this in the Bible study as well. And I said that sometimes tears are prayers. I really do believe that. I believe that sometimes even tears are prayers. So that was a season where like sometimes like tears were my only prayers to God. The only thing I had to offer him. And it talks about in Psalms 56:8, that you have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Like, I think that stands alone. It talks for itself. Like, he is recording every tear.
Yeah.
from your eye. And that just goes to a testament that he does care. And I think we have to always start there, that we have to give it to him and understand that that's something that he's worried about. And when you're going through these seasons of pain and hurt and sorrow, that like, yo, for tears all you got, God will take it. He's counting everyone.
That's all you got, man. Just give all you got.
Give what you have, and he'll give you who he is, and what he has, and that exchange. And then that's where you'll start feeling, really that healing process begin, because that's what it was for me. It's just like those like moments of worship, honestly. It's getting his presence, like that was it.
That's good, bro. I didn't know how to want to segue. Okay. Hold on.
I thought you, yeah.
I have one more. I got one more. Yeah, no, that's good, bro. That's fire, bro. He's collecting the tears.
He's collecting everyone.
He meant that, bro.
He meant that.
He meant that. And it's crazy. We're kind of, in hindsight, looking back on it, that's kind of what helped me with my situation, was realizing that he meant that. With like Romans 8:28, the scriptures, like all things work out for the good of those who love the Lord. Realizing that he meant that. That's what kind of helped me. And what I mean by that is, like, for me, it was realizing that, things are it's a process.
Right.
It's definitely a process. For me, in my situation, it was that it wasn't the heartbreak itself that led to it wasn't the heartbreak itself that led to a depressed. In my situation, it wasn't the heartbreak itself that led to the depressed state, but it was a little bit of impatience too. I think my impatience bred hopelessness. I didn't notice it in the moment, but when I was looking back on like the situation, I realized that I just wanted to feel happy like so badly again that I forgot. Like it was a process, right?
But you actually had to heal first.
I had to heal. That's good. I had to actually heal first, right? But it was that was the downfall, because like I think when impatience comes, the hope leaves, and without that hope and faith, that all things will work out, then you have nothing to fight those thoughts with. The thoughts that come like, you'll never get over this, you never feel like you did, whatever. So I think once I actually leaned on and realized that he meant that and sat in that and became patient with my process, is what have definitely helped me with my healing process.
No, of course.
Sure.
I think, we've all found ourselves in that position of like I said, we don't want it to hurt. We don't want it to be as serious as it may be.
Yeah.
And sometimes we take a position of pride. Like, why would I allow them to put me in this position or let me feel this pain?
For sure.
And it's like, it's here. Like, you're dealing with it. And it's something that you have to face, because that's what we'll do. It's like, yo, I just want to get over them.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be over. I wanted to be in my past. I wanted to just don't want to think about them anymore. And it's like, that's cool. And that's the goal. And that's the part of the process to heal completely. But you actually have to walk it out.
You gotta walk it out.
Right. And that's something that you're going to wake up one day and just like delete a number, block a contact, and then you're good. It's a process, right? And patience and walking with God through that and allowing him to show you what that looks like is really one of the biggest parts.
Yeah. You got to pick up those you got to pick up those pieces and lay them in his hands. You know what I'm saying?
Piece by piece. That's good. And then, and so I wanted, the next thing I want to talk about is like basically practical steps in a way, like just steps on like what's next. Like, like, okay, I'm going through this heartbreak, I'm feeling this, but what are like the steps I need to take to really start giving this to God and laying this at his feet. And one of the first ones is forgiveness, which is an entire MP. The first one is forgiveness, which is really an EP within itself, talking about that. But the reference verse for this one is Colossians 3:13. And the way I've heard forgiveness described is, I don't know if it's going to make sense. I couldn't like exactly find the sermon or what I listened to, but it said that it's canceling someone's debt that they have against you. Forgiveness is canceling someone's debt they have against you. So whenever you see someone, forgiveness is, right, you no longer owe me anything. And I think sometimes when we go through heartbreak and someone, betrays your trust or completely just does you wrong and leaves you with like an emotional hurt that beyond anything like you've probably ever felt before, we feel like there's a debt against them that they have to pay.
Right.
And so every time we see them, that resentment comes up, right? That emotion comes up of all that hurt, all that pain, all that you felt, and that hatred or resentment you have against them because you feel like, because that debt's still there.
Right.
So forgiveness, it's like your debt's paid.
You don't
it's canceled. It's canceled.
You don't owe me.
you don't owe me. So when I see you, you don't bring up those emotions anymore.
That's tough.
When I see you, the baggage connected to what your name meant to me at one point is no longer there.
Why you try to say, I don't know if this makes sense, but that was a fire.
No, I didn't know, but
that's a good point.
It's canceling someone's debt.
Canceling someone's debt.
So like in this process, you have to do that first, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, verse for that is Colossians 3:13. Go check that out in your own study time. And the second part is allow your heart to heal, but don't give up on love. And Jordan mentioned this briefly earlier, but sometimes we get in those moments where like, and I'll be in that too. Like after I saw this TikTok, I can't remember the sound on it, but it was like me after another failed talking stage. And I was weak, but for real, like sometimes I'll be like, bro, I'm not talking to nobody no more. I'm just gonna be single. And I'll be dead serious too. I'll be like, I'm just done. Like this ain't for me no more. And that's not the mindset that you can have, or you have to bring into it, right? I think in that moment, allowing your heart to heal, but not giving up on love, what you have to do is surround yourself with the love you already have.
Yeah.
Friends, family, your inner circle, people that guide you, right? And are going to lead you in the right direction. And the verses for that are Proverbs 11:14. And that talks about how talks about good counsel and having that around you and how that makes all the difference, like in your life. And then also Galatians 5:16, which talks about walking by the Spirit, because you have to allow the Spirit to remind you of what real love looks like and what that is in your life, and then lead you to that type of love, right? To those type of people that you need to continue to let in your life and accept,
right?
So your heart can be guarded. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's it. And then the third point is you need to reflect but don't dwell, right? Reflect but don't dwell. So don't allow yourself to dwell in the same emotions you had while you were in that season of heartbreak. Like I mentioned earlier, when you see that person, like those emotions, over time, the healing process removes that baggage. It starts to cancel that debt out. So you're obviously going to reflect on that because there was a purpose in that. Like Jordan said, there was some type of purpose that you got out of that, because Romans 8:28, all things work out for the good of those that love him. There was something that came out of that, a lesson that you needed to learn, something that God wanted to teach you, or at least something that he did teach you through that you can reflect on, but just don't dwell there. Don't stay stuck in your past, because you can never make room for your future and where God wants to take you. You know what I mean? And the reference verses for that are Philippians 3:13 and Isaiah 43:19. And one of those talks about how like I'm leaving behind the former things to look ahead for what is and what is to come. And that's basically the idea behind that. And then 4, you have to, this is probably the most important one, period, after forgiveness. Like you have to reorient your time, right? So like getting real practical, like during your season of healing, you have to be very, very intentional about what you're allowing yourself to be surrounded by, things you're allowing yourself to hear, things you're allowing yourself to see. So staying away from like triggers, you know, so like some depressing songs, sad songs, like Marvin's Room probably shouldn't be on the playlist at all. At all, like stuff like that, because it gets real practical. And even watching those triggers, so whatever it is that may remind you of that person, like removing that out of your life for a season of time, or not listening to that song or watching that show, because that's the things that can bring that back. So you can just focus on you and where God's trying to take you, and really healing and putting those pieces back together as you're giving them to him. So the reference verse for that is Proverbs 4:23, and that talks about guarding your heart above all. And that's the most important part of this process, is like really allowing God to heal you, but that has to be your focus, of really making God the priority of your healing, and removing any other distraction or hindrance or stumbling block to that process. And then 5, last one, is clarity, not failure. And what that means is you have to have a change of perspective and ask God for clarity and guidance of what happened and what you went through. And asking the Spirit, okay, what was I supposed to learn from that? Right. How can I grow from this? How can this bring me closer to you? Right. I think, like you said earlier, sometimes we get stuck in that sometimes victim mentality or mindset. And we've all been there, like, oh my, why me? Like, why was this? And it's valid. Like I said, it's real. Like, bro, why did that have to happen to me? Why did they have to do that to me? Like, why was I not enough? You know what I mean? But I think we have to allow the Spirit to shift our minds and to guide our minds into a different perspective on what we went through. And that's how we can really start like healing for real. And I think those all are important. So yeah, forgiveness, allow your heart to heal, but don't give up on love. Reflect, but don't dwell. reorient your time, or just be intentional about your healing. And 5, clarity, not failure. Have a change of perspective. And those are really the things that are going to lead you to just getting over like heartbreak and that season of like that, just emotional, like just the stress that you may be like going through or dealing with for real.
Cups of the rose.
Nah, we're going to get canceled.
We can't sing along?
Rose, bro, that's like alcohol, bro.
Oh.
No, yeah, so you got anything else for the people? What you want to leave them with, man?
Oh, man.
I'm just saying you could do better.
I guess I'll just say God's at the door. His hands are open. Like we said earlier, it's just up to you to place that there. You know, do what you got to do. The pieces might be scattered, you know, pick them up, you know, get them gathered together, put them in his hands. Take it from there, man.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just add to that for mine. It's like I started out, it's like to experience complete healing, we have to be in a position of complete surrender. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of all this, and just really realizing that he cares, that he's for you. He's concerned with the integral part of your life, what you're going through day to day, your emotions, your mind, your experiences, your heart, and he wants it all. Right? When we say he's Lord over our life, we have to mean that, because everything he says he meant.
Yeah.
And so on our end, we have to mean what we say when he is Lord, right? When we say, God, you have it all, right? Then he has to. I remember I saw this tweet, we reposted it. It wasn't too long ago. And it was like, if Jesus is enough, why won't you let him be? If Jesus is enough, if you mean that, because he said his grace is sufficient, and his power is made perfect. He meant that. But do you?
The only limitations God has are the ones you put on him.
Y'all know y'all heard it last EP, but do you? If you say, but he is enough, then why won't you let him be?
Yep.
Let him be. He wants to be. Give it to him, right? He's concerned with what you're going through and what you're dealing with, particularly when it comes to heartbreak, you know? And this is a sensitive time, man. He wants you to be vulnerable with him. And he's not looking down on you like, bro, like, you tripping. They wasn't even like that, dude.
Promise he's not looking down like that.
Sis, he was weak. Like, he's very sensitive. He's empathetic.
Yeah.
He's very sensitive to what we go through. So that's pretty much it. That's what we want to leave y'all with.
Yeah, man.
We hope this blesses y'all and gives y'all some practical tips to help y'all with what y'all going through and what you've been through and all that. But y'all know what it is. Stay you.
Yeah.
Stay real. And stay humble. We'll catch y'all next week. Much love.